Okay, welcome to LAC 1. We are going to go over our Unit 5, Voices and Viewpoints. Okay, here's the agenda for today. We're going to go over the calendar for week 10, our essential question for the week. We have a lot to review. We have 2 parts going on for Unit 5. You have the poetry unit, Voices and Viewpoints, and then you also have the grammar part, which is the subject-verb agreement. So I'm going to go over what you need to do for this unit. Here is the week 10. I gave you guys on Monday a catch-up day so that, if you're still working on that research paper, you turn it in. The final draft assignment was due on Tuesday. And then if you just turn in your rough draft, okay, wait for the feedback that I give you, and then you can turn in your final draft, okay? I thought it was due today. Yeah, it was yesterday. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's fine. It's, if you turn it in during this week, you're fine. You're just turning in your final draft. I'm sorry, it was due today. So if you turn in your final draft, then you're fine. Okay? Final draft is, I have this here, but it's actually due on Thursday. There we go. Today. Okay? Yes. I just finished grading this morning. Okay. Because I've been trying to get caught up with all of the grading. I've been getting some late papers and outlines, so it's like a full Dropbox, and it takes me time. So I should be done. If you turn in anything by today morning, like 8 a.m., everything in the Dropbox should be clear. Okay? So you should be able to work on that final draft. Okay? Good question. And then you can see here, where is it? Okay. So you can see we are starting our new unit. Okay, on Friday you have lesson 2 for Unit 5, and we started our first lesson on Wednesday. Okay, so I just gave you an extra day to turn in that final draft. Thank you. Okay, that's the essential question for this week. Please write it down for your notes. How can poetry be a good medium for expressing viewpoints? Oh, you need to shoot. Okay, how can poetry be a good medium for expressing viewpoints? So we're going to go over poetry first, and then we're going to do the grammar practice. Are we good? Okay, let's go on. Okay, so where are you going to access the unit resources? So right under Unit 5, it says Voices and Viewpoints. You can click on Unit Resources here, especially for the newer students. And then there is the literature part, and then there's the grammar part below it. So you can click on Materials, and then you can access those resources that can help you to complete the unit. You do not need to turn in notes to me from the materials here. Those are for your own use. You can use those for your tests and your quizzes. And then you'll see on day 36, you're only working on the literature part, but if you click on day 37, that's when you start to have 2 lessons. You have the literature part, and then you have the subject-verb agreement. So for the subject-verb agreement, you should be using this book. Okay? That's what we're going to be using, the VK Language Handbook. And then for the literature one, of course, it's going to be the one with the raven in the front. Okay? And you want to click on the lesson, and it will tell you what page number the poem is in. So for day 37, if I click on it, it's going to tell me on slide 4, that's why you have to go through each slide, okay, what you need to work on. So it says DK English Language Handbook, pages L378 to 386. Yeah. So make sure that you go through each slide. Okay. I have tons of these. You can grab one over at the high school section. Okay. So if you need books, there's no worry. I have tons of them. You guys can take them home today. Okay. Voices and viewpoints. This is Unit 4. You want to consider the big ideas. Okay, and this is where the student guides are going to help you. Okay, they are a good medium for expressing ideas in a succinct way, and they have a literal meaning and a figurative meaning. Okay, figurative, you need to read between the lines to understand it. So you're going to be reading a lot of poems. You're not going to be reading very long stories. You're just going to be reading poetry for understanding, and that's where the student guides come in handy because they ask you the type of questions that you're going to see on your quizzes and tests. Misconceptions. A poet's voice and a speaker's voice are not the same. Okay? And of course the two voices are different. So you have the poet who is writing the poem, and it does not necessarily mean that that's the person who's speaking to the reader, okay? Maybe they're using someone else's viewpoint, and that would be the speaker's voice. Okay, so voice in stories. When you read a story, whose voice do you hear? Think about some of the short stories that you have read. Authors can use various voices in a work of fiction. The same is true in poetry. We need to put that down, please, right now. Okay, yet distinguishing the difference between the speaker's voice and the author's voice can be more difficult in poetry. Okay? So you can have various or different voices in one poem. So here's one. We have this poem right here. Okay, I need everyone's attention. Okay, so we have We Real Cool by Gwendolyn Brooks. Okay, so we have the pool players. Here's one of the examples that you have. The pool players, 7 at the Golden Shovel. We Real Cool. We. Left school. We. Lurk late. We. Strike straight. We. Sing sin. We. Bin gin. We. Jazz June. We. Die soon. So we're going to think about who the speaker is in this poem. See, the poems are not that long, but they do have that, they have significant meaning that you need to read into. So this is the way that we can analyze this. It's a very short poem, but we want to take a look at every line, okay? So the first one we have, they're talking about 7 pool players. They seem to be very proud of the way that they act, their rebellious action. Okay, they talk about leaving school. So they seem to be proud. They deny themselves that opportunity. They lurk late. Okay, maybe they come home late. They avoid sleep and responsibility. They strike straight. That means that they act aggressively like a weapon. They sing sin. And we know sin here has a negative connotation. So they celebrate their inappropriate behavior. They sin gin, so meaning they're drinking, so something they shouldn't be doing. And the final line of the poem is both tragic and ironic. So what do they say? They die soon. So sooner than is expected. Okay, they live this rebellious life, but they're proud of it. But in the end, they die sooner than the average person. Okay. So we want to read through each of the lines that we are going over as we're going through each of the poems. Okay. So let's take a look. Who is the speaker here? Is it a pool player, the author, or 7 pool players?
7 pool players. 7 pool players.
Yeah.
So he said 3 times.
Exactly. So it's referring to a group of people. So we have the 7 pool players. We know it's not the author. The author wrote it, but from a different person's perspective. Okay. So you can understand these pool players and the way that they express themselves and that they think. So again, the student guides should help you kind of get to the point. They ask the right questions so that you understand the poems a lot better. Okay, so I want you guys to think about how they can express, how they're good mediums to express viewpoints by this example. So that's part of your essential question that you need to respond to, especially the ones who are here joining me via Blackboard Collaborate. Okay, why is it a good medium? So the poet can speak through different voice, right? I can assume someone else's voice, someone else's perspective, okay, if I'm writing a poem. Okay. The message can be personal. It could be about my own experience, but then it's universal. It's talking about maybe a difficult situation I've gone through if I were to be the poet, and it touches everyone else that reads it. So it could be universal, a universal message. And then poems, a lot of the poems that you're going to read are short. So they use succinct language, which means short to the point, very precise, and it's going to evoke strong feelings and emotions. Okay, so the poet really thinks about each word that they use because it is so short. You know, they're not writing a whole essay where they're including tons of information. Okay, they just want to get to the point, and they're doing it for a certain reason. They want to evoke that emotion, that feeling of something that they have gone through. And then last part here, it can create mental images that stick with the reader. So again, it goes back to language. So we have a lot of ways that poetry can be a good medium. You guys should be writing that down. Taking notes. I need to see more notes from you. So you should be taking notes so that you can provide those to your homework teacher. Okay, I am going to move on to the next slide. Are we okay? Do you guys need more time? No? Okay. And then if you ever need the PowerPoint, you can just email me, okay, if you've attended the session, okay? So consider when reading poetry. We're going to look at meter, and you need to know what meter is, okay? And that's going to be also in this unit, and you'll learn, but it's good to have the definition, okay? It's the arrangement of words in poetry based on rhythm, accent, and the number of syllables in a line, okay? So we have a meter. Okay, based on rhythm, accent, and number of syllables in a line, okay? In our second one, you don't have to write every single thing here. You can shorten it up for your notes where it's easier for you to understand. And then you'll notice that older poetry was written in iams, so you can write down the word iams in part of your notes. That's a two-syllable foot of poetry, okay, with the stress falling on the second syllable. So we have two syllables. Remember clapping in elementary school for each word to see how many syllables there were. So these are two-syllable words, stress on the second word. So example, alas, alas, goodbye. It would be on the second syllable of the stress. Goodbye, alas. So those are iams, and those were used in older poetry. You'll notice that. So these are two important vocabulary words. You'll probably see it on your quizzes or your tests. So make sure that you know them. And you can always use these notes for your quizzes and tests. Use your own notes to help you out. Okay, you need to put all that away and write with something that works. You have to take this away. Just interrupting. Annoying.
How do you pronounce it?
I am?
I am.
It's like I am, kind of. So again, we have meter and iam. Okay. Are we okay to go on to the next one? Okay, another one here that you need to know is rhyme scheme. So imagery does not work alone in poetry. A poet uses rhyme and meter. We talked about that. And rhyme scheme is the pattern of rhymes made by the final words or sounds in the lines of the poem. So typically by a different letter of the alphabet to represent each rhyme. Okay. And you're going to learn a lot more with that. You can have a pattern where it's A, B, A, B. That means that the lines that are A rhyme with each other, and then the B's rhyme with each other as well. Okay, so we have various types of rhyme schemes. And then we have some poems that don't have any rhyme scheme. They're free verse poems. Okay, there is no system to them. So I'll repeat this again. It is a pattern of rhymes made by the final words or sounds in the line of the poem. Okay, so you're looking at the last word in the poem for each line, and then you're designating different letters to represent each rhyme. Okay. We're going to move on to grammar. And I gave you your worksheet so that you don't have to write all these sentences down that I go over. And then I recommend, as we are moving along, you can just write notes for yourself so that you remember when you take a test or quiz. Okay, this example deals with collective nouns, or this one deals with just a verb, okay, or just you can label them any way that they can help you. Okay, so the first one here, a verb needs to agree in number with its subject. Okay, remember this is part of day 37. I believe you start day 37 today. Okay, so we're doing our first lesson on subject-verb agreement. Okay, so a verb needs to agree with its subject. So let's look at the examples. The eagle is a majestic bird. Okay, so singular subject, the eagle. You're going to use the singular bird. Okay. Second example. Eagles are majestic birds. Plural subject, plural verb. Okay, this is very basic, very easy, I think. You guys can do that. This is the example for the first one. With number 1. Okay, so now you do number 1. Fix that if it's incorrect. If it's correct, just put correct next to number 1. So I'm going to walk around. I want you guys to try. Does the verb agree in number with the subject? If it doesn't, fix it. Number 1, in the bright sunlight, a child in colorful clothes plays tag on the grass. So does the verb match with the subject? If not, change it. And make a correction if it doesn't. So correct, incorrect, next to it. And if it's incorrect, change it. Trust yourself. So read it out loud to yourself. And if it doesn't make sense, change it. In the right. Number 1. The one that's underlined. No. Use the verb about it's correct. A child in colorful clothes plays tag on the grass. Is that right? Or did he? Okay, so circle around it and hold it. And I see some of you are working ahead, that's fine too. Okay, number 1. So let's see. Let me get my sheet here. Okay, Isaac. So for number 1, what did you choose? Is it correct or incorrect? Incorrect? And what did you change? Place. So it should be place. A child, we're talking about 1, singular. So and the singular verb is plays, not place. You would use play if you're dealing with more than 1. So it would be play if you say children. Children in colorful clothes play. But if it's 1, you have to use the singular place. You're going to change place. Only the underlined one, yeah. Okay, number 2. A verb phrase has a helping verb and a main verb. So maybe next to number 2, just write, this is an example of a verb phrase. Just in case when you see it on your test or your quiz, it says, look at this verb phrase, you can refer to this one. So I'll have to agree. Christy was writing a poem. That's singular. They have been writing all afternoon, plural. Okay, so number 2, I'll give you guys a minute. Look at that one, and then I'll choose someone to give me the answer to number 2. In number 4? Number 4. Yes, we're not in number 4. Number 2, let's see. Cody, what did you get for number 2? I got 1. That's correct. It should be was. Because we're talking about a poetic form, one poetic form, so we're going to use was. Okay? This particular poetic form was made popular by Petrarch in the 1300s. It's one form, so it's singular. This is singular. This is plural. If it said form, we would use word, but it doesn't. On the second one. Mm-hmm. Okay, number 3, you guys get ready because I'm going to be calling you. This one is an example of compound subject. So you can write next to number 3, compound subject. It's when you combine more than one subject. Okay, so if you have subjects that are joined by or, nor, either, or neither nor, the verb agrees with the subject closest to it. Okay, so if you have 2 choices, and then you have the verb here, you're like, I don't know if it's singular or plural. You have to look at the one that's the closest to the verb. That's how you can tell if you're going to use singular or plural. Okay? So try 3. 1 large pan or 2 small pans is enough for this recipe. Okay, it says again, if you have more than one choice, you have 2 choices, look at the second choice, closest to the verb, and that's what you're going to have to do subject-verb agreement on. Okay, number 3, let's see what I'm going to choose here. Okay, Remy. Number 3, what is it?
I don't know. I don't know if it sounds right.
Okay, let's read the rule. It says if you have or nor, or either, okay, there's 1 large pan and there's 2 small pans. You're looking at the second one. So 2 small pans is enough for this recipe. Is that correct? Or should it be 2 small pans are enough for this recipe?
Oh, yeah.
What is it? Yes, that should be correct. Okay, again, so if you have or, nor, or either in the middle, forget about the first one and just look at the second one, okay? And if you want to write this note, you can find more information on L388 right next to it. So you can write next to number 3, L388. From this book, if you want more information. Okay, next one. This is actually, we don't have one for here, but we have to agree a number with indefinite pronouns used as a subject. Everyone in the room owns a dog, and many of the dogs are poodles. So if you have to look here at the indefinite pronouns. So we have singular here and plural on the next one. Okay, because that's what we're looking at. Okay, let's look at number 4, 5, and 6. They all have to do with inverted order. 4, 5, and 6 break down inverted order. Not finished. Okay, so I'll give you guys a minute, go over 4, 5, and 6. And what is inverted order? That has to do with having to rearrange a sentence to make the subject and verb agree. So you're going to have, for 4, 5, and 6, you kind of have to manipulate the sentence to figure out which is the correct verb here.
Called erasing. Erasing graffiti. Yeah, you're not getting so good one. Wow, really? nothing of nothing. No. Both of you.
Okay, let's take a look. Are we talking about locations or are we talking about here? We have to figure it out. Well, kind of. What do you think? Do you agree with her?
If you rearrange the location of many times where it was. I told you guys, it was weird.
Yeah, we're gonna rearrange the sentence to figure it out, but we need to figure out what the subject is here. So what is the subject? Europe and Europe. So Europe what are these locations now? Is that where the usually and just so you remember, usually you have a subject and a verb string. Kind of yeah, that's a tricky one. Okay, number 5. I'm sorry, number 4. Neil, what did you come up with? Number 4. Was. Yes. So this one's kind of tricky. They're talking. The subject here is Europe. Okay, not the locations. Remember, subject and verb are usually right next to each other. So we're talking about how Europe was the place where many of the battles occurred. Okay. Number 5. Let's see. Number 5. Cassidy, what do you have for number 5? Does any war have only one cause? Good job. We're only dealing with war as singular. So does was match. Good. Okay. Number 6. Brianna. Okay. Number 6. Anthony. A. Yes. Anthony A.
Oh.
What do you have for that one?
There were many countries involved.
Yes, we're talking about many countries. Yes, that's the main subject. Okay. Okay, other agreement problems. We have doesn't and don't. So we have the verb part of the contraction has to agree with the subject. So we have he doesn't know any musicians. He does not know any musicians. And don't they know anyone? They do not know anyone. Okay, so make sure that you just take a look and take a look at the contraction and what it stands for, and make sure that it makes sense with the subject-verb agreement. Okay, collective nouns. That's 7 and 8. Okay, so look at the rule and try 7 and 8. Okay, this is a little tricky. You're going to use the singular verb with a collective noun that is thought as one unit. And then you're going to use the plural verb with a collective noun that is thought of as individual. So in both 7 and 8, we're using the word committee, but they're used differently. Okay? Yes. So you have to look at the sentence to see, okay, is this collective noun, the word committee, are they referring to it as one unit, where I use singular form, or are they referring it to as individuals within one group? Okay? So 7 and 8, work on 7 and 8. I'm going to take a look.
Let it go. Really? Yeah, I do. So, 7 and 8. Take a look at 8. Which one did you choose? Yeah, well, okay, but remember that you have to take a look at the rules, okay? It could be used singular or plural depending on the meaning. Take a look at it again. It's all let's take a look at both of them again. Great. Great. You think the same word and the other way has to make sense. It is possible. Yo. Let's see. So Bella, what did you get for 7? Yes. Okay, look at the hint. It's working as a single unit. All of them are planning to hire a band. So it is correct. Okay, number 8. Let's see, Tristan. Yes, look at the hint. The committees are unable to agree. So in this case, they would be set as individuals because they're not working as one group. Okay, they can't agree. Due to the fact that more than one person has to agree or disagree.
Yes, if they were all to agree, then it could be more one form.
That's like what plural.
Yes. Okay, 9. And 10. Okay, the final 2. Pay attention to the rule. Okay? So when you're dealing with amount, measurement, weight, or time, usually considered singular, and you take the singular verb. Okay? So anything that has to do with amount, measurement, weight, or time, you're going to use singular. Okay, so work on 9 and 10. So maybe for 9 and 10, just put quantity. Just so you remember like an amount, a number. So it has to do with number, usually it's our singular form. Okay, so if we just went over that rule, Cynthia, what would number 9 be? Yes, $5 is the price of admission to the dance. So when we're dealing with amount, money, we're going to use the singular form. Okay? Marco, number 10. 8 feet of purple ribbon. If it wasn't worth, what's the singular?
What's the singular form of these two? What is it? Was, yes. So when you're doing with measurement or numbers or anything, 8 feet of purple ribbon was used to make a bow for the stage. Okay?
8 feet were used. 8 feet were used.
8 feet of purple ribbon. Oh, but in this case, remember, we're going along with our rule. So if we're talking about measurement, it's going to be singular. Okay? So that one's kind of tricky. We just need to remember. Because number 9, we have $5, more than one. You would think it would be plural, right? Yeah. But it doesn't make sense because, well, that's an English rule. Yes, that's a rule for English. We need to remember. Okay, any questions for those of you who are here for in Blackboard Collaborate? Okay, please listen, I have an announcement to make as well. So I want you to respond to essential question 10 to get credit. Submit your notes. And then next week, we do not have a session scheduled. So that will be more of a catch-up day to get caught up with your work. There's going to be no essential question 11, so there's no live in-person session. I'm going to be leaving, going on my maternity leave. So you're going to have a sub taking over after spring break. So try to get your work in as soon as possible, second grade. So no session, no live person session next week.
Wait, so we're going to have to do recording?
No, there's no, just a catch-up day. Okay? Welcome to Spanish 1. Here's the agenda for today. We have calendar for week 10, essential question for week 10, vocabulary on the telephone, and grammar is on object pronouns. Here's your calendar for week 10. Okay? So you finish Unit 24 on Monday. And on Tuesday, you start at Unit 25. So today we're going to go over Unit 26. And then after spring break, you're going to have your midterms scheduled on the calendar. So make sure that you complete those and get ready for those big tests that are coming up. Okay? Also, you will notice that there is no session next week on Thursday. It will say on the calendar that it's canceled. So that is more of a catch-up day. So if you're missing stuff for Spanish, make sure you make that up before you go on spring break. You want to get caught up. I'm sorry? Yes, I think I have. Okay. Essential question. What is the difference between an indirect and indirect object pronoun in Spanish? Okay. Again, what is the difference between an indirect and direct object pronoun? You want to provide an example in Spanish. Okay, are we good to go to the next slide? Okay. Here's vocabulary, the telephone. Yes. Okay. Got a request to go back. You can write in the back.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go over the vocabulary now. We're going to do the warm-up.
Okay, we have, bueno, la llamada con cobro revertido, la contestadora automática, el código de área, el teléfono celular, el número equivocado.
So, okay, number one, what, I'm going to write it down here. What's our number one? Is it bueno? Muy bien. Okay, number two, cell phone. How do we say cell phone?
Yes. Okay. El teléfono celular.
And just note, if you're here on Blackboard, note that you have to include your accent marks, but I don't have them here. Okay? Número tres, collect call.
Okay. La llamada con cobro revertido.
Okay? Good. La llamada. Okay, number four, answering machine.
La contestadora automática. Muy bien.
Cuatro, la contestadora automática. Okay. Número cinco, area code. El código de área. Okay, 6, wrong number.
Equivocado.
Muy bien. Equivocado. El número equivocado.
Equivocado. Well, that part down.
Okay.
Okay, we have more here. El número de teléfono. ¿Aló? Esperar. La línea ocupada. El politono. La guía telefónica.
We have, I'm going to go over different countries have different ways of saying hello. So, yeah. ¿Aló? ¿Aló? Yeah. Okay. Now, número uno. Hello, how do you say hello? Another way of saying hello.
Aló.
¿Aló? Muy bien. Número dos, to wait. Esperar.
Número tres, a ringtone. No.
El politono. Poli and then tono. El politono. Okay, número cuatro, busy line.
Ocupada. Good. Ocupada.
La línea ocupada. Okay, 5. Directory. So if you have a directory, a phone directory, what is it? Yeah, think of
Like a guy. La guía.
telefónica. Telefónica. There we go.
Telefónica. Telephone number?
El número de teléfono. Teléfono. Good. Okay, next set.
Hello again.
Hello again. Yes. So let's do that. Number 1 is hola.
Número 2, to call.
Llamar. Número 3, a long distance. Distancia. Yes. La llamada de larga distancia. Okay. 4, to send a fax. Let's take a look over here. To send a fax. Number 4. Yeah, we have it here. Fax, same thing. Enviar un fax. Número 5, to text. Look at the word text. It's somewhere in there. Yes. Enviar un mensaje de texto. Look how long this is compared to text. Enviar un mensaje de texto. Número 6, to argue. Hopefully you're not doing that while you're on the phone, but it happens. Discutir. Discutir. Yes. To argue, disagree. Okay, I think this is our last set. Let's take a look over here. Número 1, to bother. Molestar. Good. Número 2, to miss someone. Extrañar. 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 Yeah. Extrañar. Okay, número 3, to say. Decir. Número 4, hablar. 5, to lift the receiver. So number 6 is colgar. To lift the receiver. Descolgar. Muy bien. Good. Okay. Okay, so you have your different ways of saying hello. You can say bueno. See, hello is just one word, and then we have different ways of saying it in different countries. We can say bueno, aló, diga, hola. Those all mean hello. Okay, when you're talking on the phone. And then you have some useful phrases on your sheet as well. I'm just going to review them right now. Se encuentra is there. Okay, se encuentra Corey, or se encuentra María, or se encuentra Naomi, or se encuentra, okay, alguien. Whoever you're looking for is blank there. Está blank allí is blank there. Está María allí. Podría hablar con Juan. May I speak with Juan? Puedo hablar con. Can I speak with? And then if you're the one speaking and they're looking for you, you can answer, yeah, this is she, or this is he. Él habla, or ella habla. So if you're male, you would say él habla. Okay, if you're a girl, female, ella habla. Sí, ella habla. Ella. Okay. Then we have our useful verbs, verbos útiles. Okay, we have discutir, which is to argue. Molestar is to bother. Extrañar is to miss someone. Decir, to say. Hablar, to talk. Invitar is to invite. Yes.
I need one of those papers.
For mail notes? Yes. I think I have extra. Here we go. Okay, so let's see. Él o ella no está aquí. Okay, he or she is not here. Él o ella no se encuentra. He or she is not here. See how we have different ways of saying the same thing? Okay, so you're going to have that on your list. Un momento, por favor. One moment, please. Puedo dejar un mensaje. Can I leave a message? Puedo tomar un mensaje. Can I take a message? Gracias por llamar. Thanks for calling. Okay, let's work on these 5. Okay. Gracias por llamar. How would we translate that one? I'll write them down. Take a look at your list of vocab.
Thank you for calling.
Number 1 would be thank you for calling. Okay, number 2, un momento, por favor. One moment, please. Número 3. Él no se encuentra. He is not there. Cuatro. Ella no está aquí. So, almost same thing as this one, except we have ella.
So what's the last one? The last one is 4.
Aquí is here. Okay. So those are 2. You can say él no se encuentra or él no está aquí. Both of them mean he is not here. Okay. 5. 5. ¿Puedo dejar un mensaje? What is that? Mensaje has to do with messages. Yes, can I leave a message? Okay. Here's where you're going to find your answer to our essential question. So pay attention. We're at the grammar part now. So we have 2 types of object pronouns. We have the direct and indirect. Okay. Direct object pronouns are used to replace a noun that receives the action of a verb. Okay. So they agree in gender and number. Direct objects receive the action of a verb in a sentence. John eats the apple. Carol buys the shoes. That's the direct object. And we're going to take a look at a video. Again, direct objects receive the action of a verb in a sentence. John eats the apple. Carol buys the shoes. Okay, so as with other nouns, direct objects can be replaced with pronouns. So in English, we have the same thing. John eats it instead of saying the apple. Carol buys them instead of saying the shoes. Okay, we can replace them with it and them. Same thing with Spanish. We can replace la manzana and los zapatos with it and them. La and los. John la come. But see how they flip? These 2 flip. Okay? You have to use the pronoun first and then the verb. Carol, los, because it's more than one, compra. Okay. I'll give you guys some time to write that down. Okay, I'll put that in as well. Okay? And maybe at the end of the session. I'll have extra time too. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So these are our direct object pronouns. We have me, te, lo, la, nos, os, los, and las. Okay. And where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So you're going to notice that only two of the direct object pronouns in Spanish are going to match in gender, lo and la, and los and las. Okay? Direct objects can be people as well. Just remember that the pronoun you use must match the person receiving the action, not the person performing it. So, John hugs her. So her would be la. John la abraza. Jane kisses him. Jane lo besa, that's singular masculine. You call me. Tú me, the same thing. Llama. Okay, so this video is going to help you to understand it a lot better. So just give me a second. So I'm putting the link down there for those of you who are joining me via Blackboard. You can watch it and then come join me after. And then those of you who are here with me, we're going to watch it here.
Are you trying to learn Spanish on YouTube? That's awesome.
And there's an advertisement, and we can wait on that one. Oh, I can skip the ad. Okay, there we go.
In this video lesson, we're going to be talking about direct objects. This lesson might seem a little grammar heavy, but it's kind of important that you know what's going on. Primero, unos ejemplos. Yo tengo un lápiz. Yo lo tengo. Nosotros tenemos una pizza. Nosotros la tenemos. Ellas tienen unos marcadores. Ellas los tienen. Tú tienes unas camisetas. Tú las tienes. La pregunta, ¿qué pasó? What happened? Ahora, go through it one more time. Yo tengo el lápiz. Yo lo tengo. Nosotros tenemos la pizza. Nosotros la tenemos. Ellas tienen los marcadores. Ellas los tienen. Tú no tienes las camisetas. Tú no las tienes. So what's the rule? Well, if you figured it out already, muy bien. If you're still a little bit confused, let's take a look at the parts of the sentence in English. Let's first take the sentence, I have the pencil, and break it down into the different parts of a sentence. So first, we have the subject, I, then the verb, have, and after the verb, that thing that we verb in the sentence is the direct object. In English, though, we tend to speak kind of lazily or lazy. Let's say that you were to ask me the question, do you have the pencil? I could respond, yes, I have the pencil. But why would I do that? You know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I don't need to say the word pencil anymore. I can substitute it for that two-letter word, it. I have it. What is it talking about? All right, the pencil. In Spanish, notice that these parts all correspond. So we have, yo tengo el lápiz. Yo would be the subject. Tengo would be the verb. And el lápiz would be our direct object. But when I want to say it in Spanish, two things. First, remember that nouns in Spanish have gender, meaning that even the word it in Spanish has to have gender. We'll also have to make it more than one if we're talking about more than one thing. Second thing, we place it in a different place. We can always place this it after the person and before the changed verb. So to summarize the rules and show you how it works, if our it is referring to an el or un, it will be lo. If it's referring to la or una, la. If it's referring to los or unos, dos. Let's turn to las or unas, las. When we place that after the person and before the changed or conjugated verb. Also notice that we'll place it after the no if the sentence is negative.
So I'll pause that right there. So we have these forms. They're going over lo, la, los, and las. And they all mean it. So they're just looking at singular, plural, masculine, feminine.
These mean the same thing as the longer version, but we're just substituting it to make the sentence shorter. Okay, so again, we'll look at those examples. Yo tengo el lápiz. Yo lo tengo. Nosotros tenemos la pizza. Nosotros la tenemos. Ellas tienen los marcadores. Ellas los tienen. Tú no tienes las camisetas. Tú no las tienes. Okay, so how about I show you some objects, and you make them into the direct object, the it or them. If you've forgotten what the word is, feel free to look in the word bank. El bolígrafo will become lo. La camisa will become la. La mochila would become.
What would that become? La.
La. Los pantalones will become
Los.
los. Las manzanas will become las. Los plátanos will become los. Los refrescos become los. El cine.
Lo. There we go.
Lo. La playa. La. El vestido. Lo. Las papas. Las. El teléfono. Lo. Hopefully that was easy enough. Now, let's simplify the sentences in Spanish to practice this rule of direct object.
Okay, we're pausing this right now.
Full sentence, and I want you to
Hello, LAC 1 class. We're going to work on week 6, short story elements. We're going to get started with our objectives for the week, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So then I just continue recording and, you know, get through my slides or whatever.
What are you doing over this calendar? Should I be doing this too?
I do, just so that they know what week we're in. Just, okay, this is what we're doing for the week. I just copy and paste it from the calendar.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then that was like from a long time ago, so we don't do these type of work samples anymore.
Okay.
So I end the recording.